You need to know who you are, where you came from.
Too far gone to nothing will charge you. Drunk in the fair.
Now we are thinking, planning. What we've taken is we've learned from seven generations ago. Our elders fought for.
Too far gone to nothing will charge you. Drunk in the fair.
That sovereignty that was bestowed upon the Indian Nation all across the land, where you came from and what you're set on this earth to do.
My grandmother, one of the things that she really stressed and emphasized to me growing up as a child was that I don't ever want to hear you say walla 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 walla. And to her, that's what the English language sounds like, because she only understands and speaks the Navajo language. And so, you know, she would say, "Shiyaja hala o walla 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 denona na." You know, I taught you to speak the Navajo language. You know, continue to speak it because that's who you are, and that's your foundation, and that's what's going to get you through, you know, life. And it has, you know, it really has.
Accomplish. I think that's what tribal nations are all about. And one of the things that really tears me up is the fact that, you know, people say we've bestowed power, or we've given you an opportunity to use your sovereignty, or we've given you sovereignty. And that happens in Iraq. People are talking about, governmental officials are talking about, we bestow sovereignty. We give them the sovereignty, and that's the worst thing that people can say. That the sovereignty came as a result of the Creator and no one else. And so how can we push anything lower than that? And I think that it's important to understand that that's what we mean when we talk about sovereignty. And the other thing is that, you know, I really feel bad when we have Indian kids that are of not just one nation, but of two nations or three or four. And my kids are in that situation right now. It should be nobody else's business on where they want to be enrolled.
Fight them today. We caught a glimpse of the world before corruption of hate. Still functioning on self-destruction, only some can relate. It's buried deep in my mind. Someday our people will rise above the misconceived beliefs and stop believing the lies. We see it in their eyes. They trapped in webs of the sea. I'll take revolt with the rebels over their pledge and allegiance. We've been led to believe we hopeless and will never be free. I'd rather die standing fighting than to live on my knees. We see our people lonely, only to cherish the dream of America, where apparently they bury beliefs underneath.
They ought to be able to enroll in Okewinge as well as the Eastern Band of Cherokee. And it shouldn't be the federal government or anybody else telling us you should only enroll in this one, or you should only be allowed to enroll in this tribe. And it's not their call. And I think that if we start doing that, what we're doing is we're diminishing our resource base. And our resource base is our children and their children and their children and their children. And so when we talk about survival of the Indian nations, we've got to think way, way, way ahead. And granted that all of the things that are happening are present day issues, but they became present day issues because a lot of it didn't get taken care of, mostly because, number one, we weren't as active, we weren't politically active, we weren't as active in the voting arena. And so I think that now we know where we need to concentrate. And so all the efforts that we're putting together, it makes sense that we got to know the system, because we got to survive in this country as well as we got to survive in our own worlds with our own issues. But we cannot put aside our language, our culture, and our tradition. That's the number one. That's why we were put on this earth. And if we're going to survive, we have to know that. And we cannot say, oh, that comes secondary. Or we can't say we only concentrate on this piece and forget about all of the external forces, because we aren't isolated by any means. We're a part of this nation. And if we're going to be an active part of this nation to also provide solutions for this nation, we also have to have a voice. And the only way we're going to have a voice is for us to be active. And
came back and asked us who we are. Would we be too far gone to recognize them through the stars and the stripes of the flag, living our if our ancestors came back and asked us who we are, would we be too far gone to recognize them through the stars and the stripes of the flag, living our lives, they say? If our ancestors came back, would we fight them today? Now tell me, if we seen them with freedom be in our hearts, or would we find ways to enslave them and keeping them apart? If they seen us and how we living, we make an impression. They be on reses, on our reses, in the way of our progression. We live like oppressors, least as close it gets. Some remember our ancestors that some chose to forget. Imagine if they walked with us and we rose to be a threat and once more embody the beings we supposed to be again. If they spoke in native tongues, would we even understand what our new native warriors then turned the gun on them? And if our ancestors came back and embraced with open arms, we'd be afraid to be embraced and reminded of who we are. Maybe they already here, we just don't want to.
And they fought because of something they believed in, and that is that sovereign power.